Ramses the Great, the pharaoh who defied time. Over 3,000 years ago, in the land of Egypt, a pharaoh was born who would rise to become one of the most legendary rulers in history. A man who commanded armies, built monumental structures, and left behind a legacy so powerful that it would echo through the corridors of time, influencing cultures and civilizations for millennia. This is the story of Ramses the Great, a ruler whose name was etched into the annals of history as a symbol of might, wisdom, and resilience. Join us as we uncover the life, legacy, and remarkable achievements of the pharaoh who defied time. Early life of Ramses. Ramses II, also known as Ramses the Great, was born in 1303 BC, during the reign of his father, Seti I. His early life was one of privilege and preparation for greatness. From a young age, Ramses was groomed for leadership, being trained in military strategy, administration, and the arts of governance. As the son of Seti I, Ramses grew up in a time of peace, but also one that was rife with military and political challenges. His family lineage was already steeped in the tradition of powerful pharaohs, but Ramses had the ambition to carve his own legacy. His youth was marked by a sense of responsibility, as he was brought up to one day take the throne of Egypt, and he quickly showed a strong aptitude for leadership. Seti I, his father, was a powerful ruler who had restored Egyptian prestige after a period of decline. Under his reign, Egypt's borders were secured, and he embarked on several military campaigns to push back against invading forces from the Libyans, the Hittites, and other regional powers. Seti was determined to prepare Ramses to continue these efforts and uphold Egypt's greatness. Ramses's role as crown prince. Ramses's path to the throne was not just that of an heir. He was actively involved in the military affairs of the kingdom from an early age. It is said that by the time he was a teenager, he had already taken part in several military campaigns, gaining first-hand experience on the battlefield. He was not merely a figurehead in the royal court. Ramses was a warrior prince, earning his place through action and valor. His bravery was legendary, and his reputation as a military leader would become one of the cornerstones of his reign. It was during his early military campaigns that Ramses began to show the qualities that would define him as a ruler. One of the first major conflicts he faced was with the Libyans, a powerful tribe that posed a significant threat to Egypt's security. Ramses's courage and tactical brilliance in these early engagements were noted by his father, and Seti recognized that his son was ready for the challenges ahead. Pyramus, the capital city of Egypt under Seti I, would become the launching pad for Ramses's own campaigns and ambitions. It was here that he began to consolidate his power, ensuring that he was ready for the monumental task that lay ahead, the throne of Egypt. The death of Seti I and Ramses's ascension. In 1290 BC, after nearly 2 decades of rule, Seti I passed away. His death marked the end of an era, but it also marked the beginning of Ramses's reign. At the age of 25, Ramses ascended to the throne as Pharaoh of Egypt, taking the name Ramses II, or Ramses the Great. His reign would become the longest in Egyptian history, lasting an astounding 66 years. The transition from heir to ruler was not without challenges. While Ramses had proven himself on the battlefield and had the loyalty of his soldiers, he still needed to secure his position among the political elites of Egypt. It was said that Ramses was a master of diplomacy, using his charm, intelligence, and charisma to maintain stability within the royal court. From the very start of his reign, Ramses understood the importance of alliances, both within Egypt and with foreign powers. His diplomatic acumen would serve him well in the years to come, helping him maintain Egypt's dominance in the region. Early achievements and the Battle of Kadesh. One of the defining moments of Ramses's early reign came in 1274 BC, the Battle of Kadesh. The city of Kadesh, located in modern-day Syria, was a strategic crossroads between Egypt and the Hittite Empire. Ramses led an army of thousands to confront the Hittites in one of the most famous battles in ancient history. Despite his strategic brilliance, the battle did not go entirely in Ramses's favor. He was initially caught off guard by a Hittite ambush, and many of his forces were outnumbered and surrounded. But Ramses's resilience and determination would not be easily thwarted. He rallied his forces and fought bravely, even personally leading the charge to break the siege. Though the battle itself was indecisive, either side gained a clear victory. It marked a turning point in Ramses's reign. He used the battle's aftermath as a propaganda tool, portraying himself as a hero who had triumphed over overwhelming odds. Monuments were erected, and inscriptions were carved into stone, depicting Ramses as a warrior pharaoh who had defeated the mighty Hittites. Ramses's victory, or rather, his portrayal of it, would become a central part of his identity. The Battle of Kadesh solidified his reputation as a fearless warrior and a leader capable of overcoming the greatest of challenges. But this would not be the last time Ramses would use military campaigns to enhance his image. With the Battle of Kadesh behind him, Ramses set his sights on consolidating power, expanding Egypt's borders, and leaving a mark on the world that would transcend generations. The builder and diplomat. With his military prowess and strategic brilliance firmly established, Ramses the Great was ready to turn his attention to another aspect of his reign that would cement his place in history: his extraordinary architectural achievements. For Ramses, building was not just a practical pursuit. It was a statement, a testament to his power, and a way of ensuring his name would endure long after his death. Among his greatest contributions to Egypt's architectural legacy are the temples of Abu Simbel. Carved directly into the cliffs of Nubia, these monumental structures stand as a symbol of Ramses's reign, designed not only to honor the gods but also to immortalize his own legacy. The grandest of these temples, dedicated to Ramses himself and the gods Ammonius, Horti, and Ta, features 4 massive statues of Ramses seated on a throne, each over 65 feet tall, towering figures that gaze out across the land, unyielding and eternal. The design of Abu Simbel was not an arbitrary decision. Ramses, with his penchant for grandeur, wanted the temples to be a reminder to all who passed of the might and divine right of Egypt's pharaoh. But there was more to it than that. The temples were strategically placed near the southern border of Egypt, in the region of Nubia, to assert Egyptian dominance over the area. In these magnificent temples, Ramses carefully crafted his image. His face, carved into stone for eternity, appears again and again in the reliefs. Whether seated in majestic poses or engaged in battle, always victorious, always eternal. His image would stand as a beacon of power for centuries, and for the people of ancient Egypt, these structures represented the pharaoh's unbreakable bond with the gods. One of the most remarkable features of the Abu Simbel temples is the way the sunlight interacts with the structure. Twice a year, on February 22nd and October 22nd, the sun shines directly into the temple's inner sanctum, illuminating the statues of Ramses and the gods, signifying a divine connection between the pharaoh and the celestial forces that govern Egypt's fate. This stunning event not only showcases Ramses's religious piety but also demonstrates his deep understanding of architecture and the natural world. Even in modern times, Ramses's temples have withstood the ravages of time, surviving natural disasters and the passage of centuries. In the 1960s, when the construction of the Aswan Dam threatened to submerge the temples, an international effort was made to relocate Abu Simbel. Today, these temples stand as a testament to Ramses's enduring legacy, attracting millions of visitors each year, just as they have for thousands of years. The builder of Egypt. Ramses's architectural achievements did not end with Abu Simbel. Across Egypt, he commissioned the construction of temples, monuments, and cities that transformed the landscape of the ancient world. At Thebes, the great temple complex of Karnak was expanded under his reign, adding massive pylons, obelisks, and statues, each one a proclamation of his glory. At the Ramesseum, his mortuary temple located in the Valley of the Kings, Ramses sought to create an enduring place of worship, not only for the gods but also for his own memory. The monumental statues and towering columns inside the temple depict the pharaoh in various victorious poses, reinforcing his image as the supreme ruler of Egypt. Today, much of the Ramesseum lies in ruins, but even in its decayed state, the grandeur of Ramses's vision remains evident. The fragments of his statues, once towering above the temple, still evoke the awe and reverence that the original structures would have commanded. Ramses also dedicated numerous temples to the gods of Egypt, reinforcing his role as the intermediary between the divine and the mortal. The Great Temple at Abu Simbel was only one of many, but it stands as perhaps the most iconic, a lasting symbol of his vision for Egypt, diplomacy, and the Treaty of Kadesh. Despite his image as a warrior king, Ramses the Great was also a shrewd diplomat. The famous Battle of Kadesh, while often glorified in Egyptian records, did not lead to a decisive victory. Instead, it brought Ramses to the negotiating table with the Hittite king, Muwaddali II, and ultimately resulted in one of the most important peace agreements of the ancient world, the Treaty of Kadesh. After years of warfare between Egypt and the Hittites, both sides agreed to a ceasefire and signed a treaty in 1259 BC. This peace accord, carved into stone tablets and inscribed in both Egyptian and Hittite languages, marked the first known international peace treaty in history. The treaty outlined mutual defense pacts, trade agreements, and promises of non-aggression, securing a fragile peace in the region. Though the treaty was the result of a military stalemate, it showcased Ramses's diplomatic skill and ability to adapt to shifting political landscapes. By signing the treaty with the Hittites, Ramses ensured that Egypt could focus on internal development and security, rather than being bogged down by prolonged conflict. With peace secured on Egypt's northern frontier, Ramses was able to focus on his kingdom's internal prosperity. During his reign, Egypt flourished. Trade routes were established with far-off lands, bringing wealth and exotic goods into the heart of Egypt. Agriculture thrived along the fertile banks of the Nile, and the economy boomed. The legacy of Ramses the Great. Ramses the Great's reign lasted an astonishing 66 years, and during that time, his influence reached every corner of Egypt. His achievements in warfare, diplomacy, and architecture were unmatched, and yet, his greatest legacy may lie in the way he shaped the identity of ancient Egypt for generations to come. At the end of his long reign, Ramses II's journey took him to the tombs of the Valley of the Kings, where, like all pharaohs, he sought a place of eternal rest. His tomb, though smaller than those of some of his predecessors, remains one of the most significant burial sites of the ancient world. It is here that Ramses's mortal body would rest for eternity, surrounded by treasures, inscriptions, and an army of guardians, protecting him as he made his transition to the afterlife. Ramses's tomb is richly decorated with scenes from Egyptian mythology, illustrating the pharaoh's journey into the afterlife. In one particularly striking scene, Ramses is shown meeting the gods, with his heart weighed against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. His depiction as an eternal figure was carefully constructed to ensure that he would continue to reign, even in the next life. But while his tomb ensured that his legacy would be remembered in the afterlife, it was the living monuments of his reign that ensured his immortality in the world of the living. Ramses II was more than just a pharaoh. He was a symbol, a godlike figure whose name would echo across the ages. The impact on Egyptian society. Under Ramses the Great, Egypt experienced a golden age of stability and prosperity. The strength of his leadership allowed Egyptian society to flourish. The arts, religion, and culture all saw a revival, as Ramses encouraged the construction of new temples, the promotion of religious practices, and the commissioning of grand works of art. Under Ramses's patronage, Egyptian artisans were able to produce some of the most exquisite works in history. Statues, paintings, and jewelry from this period reveal a society that was both highly sophisticated and deeply spiritual. Ramses's image as a warrior king, a divine ruler, and a living god became central to Egyptian identity. He was not just a king, he was a god on earth, and his image permeated every corner of Egyptian life. Religion played a central role in Ramses's reign. As pharaoh, he was considered a living god, the divine representative of the gods on earth. His temples, monuments, and statues not only honored the gods, but they also reinforced his own divinity. The cult of Ramses grew, with people venerating him as an eternal, divine king who had blessed Egypt with peace and prosperity. However, even the reign of Ramses the Great, despite its unprecedented length and successes, was not immune to the passage of time. After more than 6 decades on the throne, Ramses began to feel the weight of his age. While his kingdom had remained strong, Egypt itself faced new challenges that would arise in the centuries to follow. Ramses's later years saw the decline of Egypt's military influence, particularly in its southern and eastern territories. Though he had secured peace with the Hittites, the Egyptian empire had become stretched thin. The great power of the pharaoh was slowly eroded by economic strains, internal dissent, and the rising influence of new regional powers. When Ramses II passed away around 1213 BC, Egypt mourned the loss of its greatest king. However, his death did not bring immediate disaster to the empire. His son, Merneptah, ascended to the throne, but Egypt was now a much weaker state, struggling to maintain its hold over the vast territories Ramses had once dominated. Ramses's successors and the long shadow of his legacy. Ramses's direct successors, though competent, were unable to replicate his feats. His son Merneptah faced challenges in maintaining Egypt's stability, and subsequent rulers lacked the military genius and divine charisma that had made Ramses such an extraordinary figure. Yet even as Egypt entered a period of decline, Ramses's legacy remained larger than life. Ramses the Great's influence was so profound that his name was invoked by later pharaohs and rulers throughout Egyptian history. Even after Egypt's decline, his monuments were preserved, his image used to legitimize the power of new kings who sought to be associated with the might and wisdom of the pharaoh who had once ruled with unmatched glory. More than 3,000 years after his reign, Ramses the Great is still remembered as one of the greatest rulers in history. His monuments, his legacy, and his name have survived millennia of change, standing as enduring symbols of the power and majesty of ancient Egypt. Ramses defied time, not just through the monumental works he left behind, but through the vision he instilled in Egypt's soul. His legacy, like his statues, will never fall. Ramses the Eternal Pharaoh. Ramses the Great was a pharaoh unlike any other. His reign not only shaped Egypt in his lifetime but carved an indelible mark on history. As we stand at the crossroads of past and present, it's clear that Ramses's legacy extends far beyond the monuments he built, the battles he won, or the treaties he signed. His reign was an embodiment of Egypt's power, its divine kingship, and the unyielding desire to be remembered. Ramses's greatness wasn't defined by his wars or his wealth, but by how he sought to make Egypt eternal. He knew that his reign, like all others, would eventually come to an end. But the monuments he left behind, the legacy he crafted, and the stories he wove would last for eternity. In his eyes, death was not the end, but the continuation of an ever-expanding presence. And today, more than 3,000 years after his reign, we are still telling his story. The influence on future pharaohs. Even centuries after Ramses's death, the powerful legacy of his reign lived on. Successive pharaohs, whether in the New Kingdom or the later dynasties, saw in Ramses the model of divine kingship. His ability to unite Egypt, his image as a godlike figure, and his colossal achievements in art, architecture, and diplomacy set the standard for all who would follow. Ramses III, one of Egypt's final great warrior pharaohs, often modeled himself after Ramses II, portraying himself as a protector of Egypt, a defender of its borders, and a restorer of its glory. The impact of Ramses II's legacy was so profound that it echoed throughout Egypt's history, far beyond his own reign. Even Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh of Egypt, with her ambition to restore Egypt's former glory, was influenced by Ramses's image. She, too, sought to create monuments in her name, to solidify her divine rule, and to be remembered as a great and powerful ruler, much like the ancient kings she revered. Ramses in popular culture and modern legacy. Ramses the Great has long captured the imagination of the modern world. His statues, his temples, and his story have been studied and admired by scholars, artists, and filmmakers alike. Ramses is often depicted as the quintessential pharaoh, embodying the strength, majesty, and mystique of ancient Egypt. From Hollywood blockbusters to historical documentaries, Ramses II's figure has been immortalized in film and literature. He is a figure of mythic proportions, equal parts warrior, king, and God, and his image continues to evoke awe and respect in modern pop culture. Archaeological discoveries have continued to shed light on the life of Ramses the Great, revealing new insights into his reign and his personality. His mummified remains, which were discovered in 1881 in a hidden tomb in the Valley of the Kings, provide a direct link to the past, offering a glimpse into the life of a ruler whose power, glory, and ambition knew no bounds. Ramses as the ideal pharaoh. More than just a historical figure, Ramses the Great became the living embodiment of what it meant to be a pharaoh: powerful, divine, unyielding. The ideal ruler in the eyes of the ancient Egyptians was a person who could control both the material and the spiritual worlds. Ramses did just that, blending military triumphs with religious piety, diplomacy with awe-inspiring construction, and personal charisma with political wisdom. Through his divine association, Ramses the Great became synonymous with eternal rule. His name, immortalized in hieroglyphs, was meant to be spoken in reverence for millennia. Future rulers looked to his example not just for guidance but as a model of how a pharaoh should reign, fearless, wise, and blessed by the gods. Ramses's final resting place and the eternal pharaoh. Ramses's journey in life may have come to an end, but in death, he remains the eternal pharaoh. His tomb, nestled deep in the Valley of the Kings, was not only a place of burial but a final monument to his glory. Within it, his mummified body lay in state, surrounded by treasures, offerings, and the echoes of his name. Ramses II's legacy is built not just on the grandeur of his monuments, or the tales of his military exploits, but on the belief that his reign would never truly end. Even after his death, Ramses the Great continued to rule, not just in the hearts and minds of the Egyptians, but as an everlasting presence in the world of the gods. Ramses the Great was not simply a king. He was a symbol of power, permanence, and divine favor. His name, his image, and his legacy endure through the millennia, standing as a testament to the grandeur of ancient Egypt. Today, he remains the most celebrated pharaoh in history, the pharaoh who defied time. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below and let us know what you think. See you in the next video.